What is up, my beautiful people? Welcome to my DIY and Life channel. I am your girl Lacey, and as always, sometimes in life you just gotta do it your damn self. Okay, so today's video is going to be a little story time, and I have lots of stories. So if you do like me telling story time, I want at least 5 likes and I will throw down the next story time video. So if you want and if you like it, make sure you hit that like button, and also please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you and I love you. So now a little detail on my next story, just so if you guys do want to hear another one. It is going to be about my grandfather, and he was involved in the Peyton Allen murders. And if you haven't heard of the Peyton Allen murders, it was one of the first biggest murders in Portland, Oregon. So there's also a book about it, and there's also a picture of him in the book, which I can also show you guys. So just a little sneak peek on the next storytime video. So make sure if you like my storytime videos, hit that like button like right now. Just boop, boop. Just 1 second and it's free. Just boop. Just boop. Alright, so also I am going to be doing my video outside because it is a nice and beautiful day, and I set up, my daughter has this little pretty cute teepee tent. I set that up, so I will be sitting in there, and come join me outside and listen to my story and just try to get, like I said, this chaos off your mind. So come on guys, story time.
I don't wanna hurt nobody, but I'm about to lose my self-control.
Welcome back. We are now outside in the beautiful weather, and also in my daughter's cute little tent, if you guys can see. Okay, so where should we get started? So as you guys know what the title said, yes, I did get set up by the cops and busted. Yes, I did. So before I start the story, my daughter and my son are in the tent with me. They're eating their lunch, so they might be talking to me every now and then. So anyways, so before I get started, this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. And the reason why I say that is, if you are young and you have a young and naive brain like I did when I was 14 or 15, just know that whatever you do in life, always think about the outcome, like always. And that is the number one thing that still to this day, I'm 28 years old, I have trouble with. So just remember that, all you younger people watching my video. I know there's at least 2. So anyways, let's get started.
Mommy, I'll be right back.
Okay, baby. Okay, so the reason why I chose this story is because I don't think I've told a lot of people about, like, actually what happened, and I don't even think my mom knows. I mean, she knows kind of what happened, but I don't think she knows exactly what happened. So anyways, I was about 14 or 15, between 7th and 8th grade. I'm not sure if I was 7th or 8th, so I'm just between that. Anyways, I lived in this small town, and these girls that I got in trouble with, I never really hung out with, and I never really did afterwards either. It was just like that one time thing. I went to school with this girl, and we weren't like the best of friends, but it was, we were cool with each other. Well, her birthday came up and she invited me to her birthday party. I was like, oh cool, I might as well just go and party it out, right? And just have some fun. Well, okay, so I'm gonna just stop real quick. There's this boy that I'm gonna be talking about, and I'm gonna go ahead, I'm not gonna say his real name, I'm gonna say BC. That's gonna be his name, and that's gonna stand for boy crush, okay? Alright, so, and then the friend that I'm talking about that has the birthday, I'm going to call her CK, just because I don't know if her first name starts with a C or a K. So anyways, so CK and BC, okay? Alright, anyway, so back, she invited me to, her birthday party, and so I went over. It was at her house. She just, you know, had a few girlfriends over, and you know, we weren't like doing extremely bad things. I think we were drinking. It wasn't like hard alcohol or anything. It was just those Smirnoffs or Mike's lemonade, you know. Well, it was like the middle of the night when maybe like around like, yeah, maybe like around like 9 o'clock, I got a call from BC, and remind you, this was my boy crush. He was also my best friend. It wasn't unusual for us to hang out, but I was in love with this boy. I was gonna marry this boy and have his babies and blah blah blah, okay? Just remember, I was very young and naive, so when I'm telling this story, this is how I thought and felt back then. Okay, anyways, so I get a call from BC, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? I heard you're at a party. Do you guys want to come meet up in town? I got some party favors, let's just say. And I was like, oh yeah, of course, you know, of course I wanted to see BC, of course. So I tell my girlfriends, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, a couple of them were like, no, I don't feel like sneaking out and going out in town, because we did have a curfew, and it was pushing like, you know, midnight. So it was pushing like midnight, and we, you know, we got all dressed up in all the black clothes, and we had our hair down, and we just wanted to, you know, make sure we weren't seen, because we had to, where we had to meet BC, we had to cross a couple streets, and they had bright street lights, so we had to make sure we were dark and non-noticeable at, you know. So anyways, we leave the house, and we're all sneaking and ducking and dodging past these streets and the street lights, and we're so cool. Oh yeah, we just snuck out of the house. We're sneaking through town. It's way past curfew. We are just feeling like badasses, you know what I mean? Oh goodness. So anyways, as we're, you know, sneaking and dodging through town, and it's a small town, so there was no one out. It was like a ghost town. Like, there was no cars or anything, and it was really quiet. So throughout, when we're walking through the town, I keep in touch with BC. Well, between that time and before the time we get to where the spot where we had to meet him, he switched up. It was him that was talking to me, and then his friend got on the phone, and then I stopped talking to him, and then one of the girls got on the phone and was talking to his BC's friend. So I don't know exactly when, but somehow they got switched up, and oh god, this is funny. So remember this part of the story when I tell you guys. So she gets on the phone and she starts talking to BC's friend, you know, and she starts talking all flirt, not like dirty, because we were 14, 15, so she just starts flirting, like, what's your name? She starts telling him what she's wearing and where exactly are they gonna meet us at. Well, we finally get to our spot, and we all light up a cigarette, and I'm standing there like, oh yeah, I am a badass bitch. I just ran through town. I snuck out of house. I'm way past curfew. I am feeling bad, you know what I mean? Well, as I'm, you know, standing there feeling all badass-ish, one of the girls, she's still on the phone with this guy, and just going at it, like, I even looked at her too, like, man, you don't even know this dude, and she's just, whatever floats your boat, girl. So well, as I'm standing there, I take a puff of my cigarette, and it's pitch black, it's really quiet, and all of a sudden I hear, run, it's the cops. Man, I have never ran so fast in my life before, and I am a short, round girl, so for me to run fast, you know, it takes a lot, and apparently all it takes is to say run and cops. So I book it. I had my cigarette in my hand, and I just clenched it in my fist. I don't know why I didn't just drop it, because I had burns on my hand that night. Whatever, stupid. So I clenched my cigarette, and I had some, party favors in my pocket, and I just pull it out and I throw them on the ground, and I just start booking it, just running as fast as I can, like, oh, I'm gonna get away. I'm trying to get to this one bush, thinking that, yeah, this one bush is gonna save me and protect. Yeah, no. As I almost get to this bush, all of a sudden this cop just steps out of this the corner from this building, and just bam, stops me right there. And he's looking at me, and I staring at him, and I'm like, oh man, in my mind I'm like, how in the world did we get caught? We were so sneaky and so sly, and it's dark, and how in the world did we get caught? I didn't understand. So at this point, the second thought, after like, how did we get caught, the second thought that immediately went through my brain was, oh, my dad is going to kill me. Like, literally kill me. Especially, the only reason why I thought that, like, not only because, we got caught, I was stupid, I shouldn't have snuck out and did bad things, but if he had to come and pick me up, it was like way pushing past midnight now, but if he had to come and pick me up in the middle of the night, probably like almost about time he had to go to work, he would have killed me. So that's the second thing that just keeps running through my brain, and I don't know why. I was just so scared of my dad, and it's not like he ever like really beat me. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't spank me or anything, but he never beat me, because if y'all knew me back then, my dad scares me, okay, and I just cry and I ball up and I panic, and so he does it. He's like, whoa, okay, like anyways, okay, back to the story. So I'm just so worried about my dad, and as I'm standing there, the cop is going down the other girls, talking to them, and I'm hearing him call their parents, and you need to come pick them up, and I'm like, oh man, it's getting closer to me. I don't know what to do. I do not want my dad. I do not want to call my dad. And anything I could think of, I was going to say to keep my dad from coming to pick me up. So the stupidest thought, I don't even know why, again, I turned to CK, and I was like, look, can I just say I'm your cousin, I'm from out of town, I'm staying with you because of your birthday, and I'm gonna go home soon, and blah blah blah. And she was like, okay, fine. She immediately got right on with me, and like, I love her for that. And if you ever are watching this, like, leave me a comment if you remember. Anyway, so she got right on board with me as soon as I said anything, I'm your cousin. And then not only like were we like talking about that, I didn't even think of coming up with a name or the spelling or anything. So when the cop finally got to us, he pulled both of us apart, me and CK, and I'm like, oh man. And he starts talking to her, and I'm like, oh, I hope she just sticks to our story that I'm her cousin and I'm just from out of town. And I just really hope she's sticking to the story. Well, as she's talking to the cop, I noticed someone moving around in the back of their cop car. And I kind of like stepped, to the side just to peek so I could see. And I couldn't believe it. It was BC. Boy crush. I was like, what? And then things started like slowly coming together. I'm like, why is he in the back of the cop car? I'm like, why? And of course I wasn't going to ask the cop because I was already scared and didn't even want to talk at all. But as I'm standing there, then that goes through my brain, like, how in the world, like, I know it's a small town, there was no one out, but he was even in dark clothes. Like, how in the world, like, did they get him and then get us too? Like, and we were coming from completely different sides of the town, so I was like, what in the world? And anyway, so the cop finally gets to me, and there was one other girl after me. It was the girl that was talking to BC's friend, and she was still standing there waiting to be talked to. So the cop gets to me, and oh man, just still thinking about it just gives me like goosebumps to like I never want to go back to that situation ever again. But the cop gets to me, and he's like, all right, what's your name or your address, blah blah blah. And finally I was like, just quick thinking, I don't even know how I thought so quick, but I took two of my enemies at that time. I took one enemy's first name and then I took the other enemy's last name. And that was my name. I'm not going to say it. Anyway, so that was my name. And then when it got down to the address, I don't even know what I said. But obviously what I was saying, the cop had to believe us because he wasn't making any like looks at me like, oh, okay, you're lying. But then when it got down to the parents, I was like, well, CK, her mom, she knows that I'm there, and I think he even talked to her on the phone, and eventually, like, she was even on phone, like, didn't say anything that I wasn't her daughter's cousin. So that was kind of cool too. But okay, so after the cop gets done with me writing notes, he goes to the next girl, and he starts talking to her, and I'm still wondering why BC is in the cop car, and it's still like my thought process wasn't like going like, it was going crazy. But as I'm trying to wonder why he was in the car, my ear was still open to the other girl and the cop, and they were talking, and I just hear him say, where is it? You told me you had some. Where is it? And I'm like, what? And he was like, you told me on the phone you had some. Where is it? And that was it. And then, like, I don't know if the other cop stepped aside. I don't know. That's all I heard from that conversation. I'm like, what? Why was she on the phone with the cop? And I was like, and then finally it hit me. It didn't hit me all of a sudden. I'll tell you when it hit me. Just a second. So, one of the other cops came up to us. He was like, all right, to me and CK. He's like, all right, girls, it's time to take you home. I'm pretty sure he said, I spoke with your mom. She said if I could just bring you home. I agreed, and blah, blah, get in my car. So we're both in the back of the cop car, and we're completely silent. Maybe the cop was, lecturing us, telling us, you guys could have been in a lot more danger. And believe me, I will talk about it a little later after the story. Anyway, so like I said, the cop was probably lecturing us, and we finally get to CK's house, and we get out, and he doesn't even walk to the door and talk to mom or anything. He just lets us out of the car, and we're like, it was kind of weird, like, okay, maybe he had other things to do. But so we get out of the car, we walk to her apartment, and right before we open the door, I stop CK, and I like kind of grabbed her arm. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, are you serious right now? The cops just set us up. And she was like, what? How? You're crazy. What are you talking about? I'm like, the girl that the cop spoke to after me, he was saying to her, you told me on the phone you had some. Where is it? That was the friend. That was BC's friend. Was supposed to be his friend. It was actually the cop. So what happened, and what finally clicked through my brain, they caught BC, my boy crush, when he was on the way to come meet us. They caught him, and maybe he told, obviously of course he had to tell the cops that he was meeting some girls, to meet up and party and blah blah blah. So that's when I immediately thought, oh my god, the cops got on the phone and called us, and we're acting like his friends, so we could tell him where to meet. And yeah, you get the picture now. But you remember the part of the story where I was telling you where she was just flirting with him? You know how embarrassed I would have been, because she was going like pretty hardcore, like, I'm gonna kiss you when you get here. Just imagine like the end of the story, like in the end of like getting caught and everything, you find out that the guy you were talking to was a cop. And that's how we got busted. Yep. So if you are a young one, please just don't ever sneak out of the house. Don't ever go to town, especially past curfew, because now that I am 28 years old and I look back at that time, it could have been like, I don't know, some creepy pedophile that could have picked us up. Thank God it was the cops that got us. So in the end, I was kind of thankful for the cops getting us. So I'm going to continue with the story real quick. So as we get to the apartment, I am just, yes, baby. What hurt? Okay, so we're back at the apartment, and I'm freaking out. in tears. I'm just so scared of my dad. I got past it. I didn't have to call him, thank God, and have him come pick me up, because that would have been way worse. He probably would have been a lot more mad. But anyways, I'm bawling my eyes out, and then her mom comes into the room and she starts yelling at CK, and then she looks at me and she was like, you need to figure this out. You need to call the cops immediately and tell them who you really are, and how dare you, and you need to have your parents come pick me up. And as a parent, I understand she was irritated, she was frustrated. I would probably be yelling too. So the next morning comes, and I did not sleep at all. I just stayed awake, just thinking that my dad was going to kill me. I don't know why, but I was cried. My face was all swollen the next morning, and I called my mom. I don't even exactly know what I said to her, but she's like, all right, I'll be there in a little bit. I'm coming to get you now. She comes and picks me up, and we go home, and my dad's still at work. So I go into my room, and again for hours, because he didn't get home for a while, and I just cried and I bawled, and I didn't even think I told my mom the story or anything. I was just crying. I wouldn't talk. I was crying. I wouldn't come out. I wouldn't eat. Ridiculous. So my dad finally gets home, and I hear his cry. I'm like, oh my gosh. He comes in, he opens the door, and he looks at me, and he gives me this look like, oh man, he's gonna tell me to come over here so he can slap my head or something. He looks at me and he was like, you idiot, why in the hell did you get caught? That was it, y'all. I panicked and freaked out, all because my dad was gonna, and I'm not saying he didn't yell at me. He did yell at me, later on. It wasn't like too harsh, but I'm telling you, it would have been a lot worse if he had to wake up and come pick me up. But lying to the cops, sneaking out of her house, going in town past curfew, that was just all stupid of me. And I know my dad, lectured me as well. So then I still had the cop and the lying situation, and they still had the wrong person. So we had to figure that out. I'm not exactly sure. My mom had to have called the police station, let them know. And it's funny because I'm pretty sure his name was Officer Cray. And Jenny, my sister, correct me if I'm wrong, but my mom gets a hold of an officer, and he tells my mom that she has to bring me into the station, and he needs to talk to me. And again, I start freaking out. Not too bad, I was hoping that, I wasn't going to go to jail or anything. I still had that in my mind. Lying to the cop is a big, big no-no. So, and I was young, so I had no idea what was going to happen to me. Anyways, we get to the station, and I go into a room, and he's sitting there, and he tells me a lot, and I'm glad that I did go in and speak with him. He didn't give me tickets, or I didn't go to jail or anything. So, the moral of the story, just if you are younger, just please think of the outcome and never lie to a cop, ever. I don't even care if you're scared of getting killed by your mom or dad. I hope not, but just never lie to a cop. And also, if you are younger, and like I said at the beginning of the story, I do know at least 2 people that will watch this video. If there is this boy you really like, or this girl you really like, and you just have to see them, and in order to see them you have to do some bad, no, don't do anything bad. Definitely don't do anything against the law, okay? Especially over a boy or a girl that you think that you're going to marry at 14 or 15. Come on now. Well, that is it, everyone. I've been talking for 21 minutes, so I hope you enjoyed my long story. And make sure to hit that like button, because I will not drop another storytime video unless I get at least 5 likes. So come on, y'all. Click that like button. I love you all, and as always, I'll see y'all on the next video.